What do you have planned now for the rest of the off season?
Oh my! Well, right now I'm still tired, so I'm just resting. I'm a chauffeur. School drop off, school pickup, baseball games, basketball games, tryouts, practices, all that. I'll do some commentating again in the off season. Those things too. But and then start working on how we're going to get better. What does it look like for us with the personnel that we have? With once we figure out who's coming in, what kind of adjustments and changes do we want to make? How do we as a staff continue to grow, continue to get better, and go on from there? So right now, stage one is rest and recovery.
The biggest hurdle that Caitlin Clark needs to overcome is her head coach. And right now, she's at a point where she doesn't need or want that in her life. Nobody cares and nobody's watching, and you can stink it up. Go to the Atlanta Dream. Nobody will be talking. All season, a big chunk of Caitlin Clark's fan base has had the same concern in the back of their mind. Stephanie White might not be the coach who maximizes Caitlin, protects her, and builds the right identity around her. After that Fever Insider interview, many fans feel like whatever patience they had left is gone. The playoff run bought some time, sure, but those comments flipped the mood fast. People are already saying Caitlin needs a fresh start, not just a different system, but a different environment that actually appreciates what she brings. It's a great tool for a lot of reasons, but it's also become a negative space. It's become a cesspool for negativity, and right now, she doesn't need or want that in her life. So let's break down what was said, why it landed the way it did, and why this argument has become so heated. Stephanie White did praise Caitlin. She talked about her maturity, competitiveness, and the kind of spotlight she lives under. She framed Caitlin as a one-of-one athlete, the type that changes the attention level around a franchise. But that's not what people clipped. The part that sparked the backlash was the tone around social media. Fans have heard this before. When coaches and players talk about how awful social media is, it rarely stays general. It almost always becomes a subtle way to scold the loudest group in the room. And right now, the loudest group in the room is Caitlin's fans.
Generational player, so a lot of people notice this. Listen to this.
And I guess with the offseason too, Amber mentioned in her exit interview that the number one priority was to land Kelsey in free agency again. Just how important was she to your team this year? How important has she been to the Fever? Obviously, the 8 years she's been with the franchise, and how badly do you want to keep her around?
I mean, yeah, she was the number one priority a year ago, and she's the number one priority this year. She's been so important. And
fans are saying, let Caitlin do her thing, but the coach's words often come across as irritation. The fans don't hear leadership, they hear frustration, even dismissal. And if you're the fan base that's buying the tickets, driving ratings, and making every road game feel like a home game, that hits a nerve. This isn't just about one interview, it's about a build-up, whether the Fever are building around Caitlin or managing around her. Fans have zeroed in on one key point, the disconnect between what they want to watch and what they feel Stephanie White is trying to enforce. Most of the new audience is here for Caitlin Clark. They fell in love with the Iowa version. Pace, freedom, deep threes with confidence, a game that could explode at any moment. They didn't sign up to watch a star get turned into a decoy, jogging to the corner while the offense crawls through half-court sets. To them, that isn't structure, that's putting a governor on the engine. When you take over a team with the league's biggest draw, the expectation is that the identity tilts toward that player, not as a slogan, but on the floor. When fans feel the system flattens her impact, the pushback gets loud. It's frustration from people who believe they're watching a generational talent being managed instead of unleashed. Fans perceive the social media comments as more than complaints. They see them as evidence of months of a pattern, messaging about fit and system registering as a warning sign. Not how to make Caitlin unstoppable, but how to make Caitlin behave. For fans who watched her at Iowa, that feels backwards. Caitlin is the system. The system should be built around her gravity, decision-making, and
to go through this stage of her Indiana Fever career. She's been through sort of the worst of the worst, for lack of a better term, in and out of the building, growing pains with getting the organization back. You don't get back-to-back number one picks unless you've been at the bottom for a while, right? And she showed up like a pro every day, and she just continues to work and continues to grow. And she carried the franchise, and she carries the teams in different ways. And she deserves the opportunity to do that. I mean, it's close to home, for her. I thought she was so instrumental in everything that we did.
Ability to bend defenses. When Caitlin herself hints she needs the ball more, fans take that as confirmation. When she catches fire but is pulled back into a controlled rhythm, they don't see discipline. They see fear of letting her play. The tension escalates when Stephanie White shifts to Kelsey Mitchell, framing priorities in a way that makes many fans feel the hierarchy is upside down. Mitchell has been the #1 priority in free agency. While that's understandable for a franchise veteran, fans heard a public emphasis on someone other than the player who transformed the team's universe. Caitlin becomes optional in this vision, the draw, but not the centerpiece. Every rotation choice, every off-ball possession, every late-game sequence starts to feel like evidence of the same pattern. When Stephanie says, "We want to continue to build around her success," people don't just hear support, they hear an admission. Caitlin Clark is the generational talent here. Fans don't feel like the Fever have been building around her. They feel the organization is trying to sand her edges down, pressing her into a preset system. That's what sets them off.
But Caitlin Clark is your generational talent. You just said on camera you want to build around Kelsey Mitchell? Really? All right. Wow. Oh, I seem to be under the remembrance that people said this was a conspiracy theory. No, that's Stephanie White I'm telling you right now, I believe Stephanie White believes Kelsey Mitchell's the best player on this team. That's on a team that's got Caitlin Clark on the team, on the roster. After watching what Caitlin Clark did as a rookie, everybody's went nuts for Kelsey Mitchell's season, and yeah, she's had a really good season. Caitlin Clark scored 19 points a game as a rookie. Set the record for assists and, threw in 5 rebounds. Kelsey Mitchell's a volume shooter and a damn good one. She's a dynamic shooter.
The Iowa version, pace, freedom, audacity, chaos, highlight reels, is being diluted into something safer and more familiar. Could it have been sloppy phrasing? Possibly. White may have meant Kelsey Mitchell as a pillar alongside Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, and the rest of the core, balancing continuity with growth. But that's not how it landed. Fans formed their opinion based on patterns, rotations, possession usage, late-game decisions, moments where Caitlin catches fire but the offense slows, mistakes highlighted when she plays freely. Fans also watch off-court messaging. They notice when other players' milestones are celebrated with no caveats, while Caitlin's accomplishments get wrapped in context, redirected, or framed as needing balance. That build around Kelsey line felt like another tile in a bigger mosaic. Even when Caitlin won her ESP award, White didn't gush. She used the moment to highlight other players from the past. Old guard comfort first, Caitlin adaptation second. On the surface, most of this is standard coach talk, complaints about social media, praise for multiple players, loyalty toward veterans. But the fan reaction shows the temperature. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's the reason people are watching. Fans aren't reacting to literal words, they're reacting to what they believe those words reveal. The league's media ecosystem also complicates this. Many feel allergic to the idea of one player driving the bus. Stephanie White's comments, centered on Kelsey Mitchell, intensified that perception.
The core of the backcourt is Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. They've thrived together. Caitlin admires White and Mitchell.
But Caitlin Clark's the playmaker. You know, she is the playmaker. She's the generational talent. By the way, we're stuck with Stephanie White forever.
I cannot say enough good things about Stephanie White and her staff. What a tremendous job. And she deserves so much credit, and her staff deserves so much credit for being able to fold these players in really quickly. Again, from the time they arrive with film to walking them through the playbook to integrating to talking to them during games. I mean, Steph is a master communicator.
Mitchell admires Caitlin. They've proven dangerous together. Yet fans see the narrative framed as if Caitlin isn't the center. For 2 straight seasons, new fans have arrived in massive numbers and then been lectured when they point out the obvious. Growth isn't about Caitlin, it's the collective. Don't center one player. Coverage plays comparison games, cherry-picks moments, avoids the inconvenient truth. When Caitlin isn't on the floor, casual audiences dip. Fans feel ignored, managed. The ecosystem struggles to handle her stardom, not because she's unworthy, but because the league wasn't built around a single gravitational center. Caitlin changes that. Instead of embracing it, too many voices sand it down until it looks familiar. The real missed opportunity, the league should convert new viewers into long-term fans, not scold them. Respect the reason they showed up. Sophie Cunningham stands out because she says what everyone sees, how Caitlin is defended, officiated, and framed. Honesty resonates. Caitlin Clark isn't just the face of the league, she's the engine. She packs arenas, turns road games into home crowds, and drives casual fans to care about standings and storylines. When the franchise prioritizes comfort over maximizing her impact, fans panic.
Windows close fast in sports. One wrong environment can steal years from a generational career. Right now, the coach has a rigid identity, the league has ego issues, and the star at the center is trying to keep peace while everyone else debates what she should be. Fans' fear is simple. What if they waste her? What if the team asks Caitlin to fit instead of elevating everyone else? Stars eventually go.
I think this is just such a pivotal point in the WNBA. There are so many eyes on us. There's so many new fans. And at the end of the day, she's worried about her. In all of her statements, it's all like, well, I got us here and I should. And Kathy, no one cares. Literally, no one cares. Like how you're sitting right there, that's how we feel every time she speaks.
I think all of this dialogue coming from Nafisa is good. At this point in time, I feel like the right thing to do would be put your ego down for 1 second. Like anyone's going to be offended when people talk shit on you. Duh. But like you are a leader amongst a bunch.
Where they're empowered, where the vision matches the talent, where a front office protects them, a coach amplifies them, and a league markets them without resentment. The real question isn't what White meant, it's whether the Fever will learn from the reaction or double down. As long as fans feel the most electric player in the sport is handled with caution instead of built around with conviction, tension will remain. The story doesn't end with one interview. It ends with a star realizing she can't carry a league that won't fully carry her back.
The tension between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White isn't just about a player and a coach. It's about how the league interprets star power. Fans see Caitlin not as one piece of a system, but as the system itself. She changes the way defenses play, the way arenas fill, the way casual fans engage. Every time she takes the floor, she alters the gravitational pull of the game. And yet, the conversation from leadership often frames her as just another piece, a cog in a collective. That's why the reaction is so intense. It's not personal hate. It's a defense mechanism from fans who have already witnessed months of subtle marginalization. Look at the context. Caitlin didn't just arrive as a talented rookie. She arrived as a cultural event.
Social media exploded when she hit the WNBA hardwood. Clips of her deep threes, insane crossovers, and fearless attacks on the rim went viral.
Bunch of women and a bunch of women who are growing something huge in our country. I think it would be beneficial to like take a second, look in the mirror and realize like, could I be doing things differently and better? But I feel like she's so reactive and like defensive when people call her out for shit that like, dude, like I find it all baffling. And we don't have to stay on this forever, but like I look at us now, like whatever Nafisa did, there's a chance in 2 years we look back and we're like, oh, was this the first domino in kind of like maybe reshaping the administration in the WNBA? I have no idea. But
yeah, and I have every right to believe, I don't think Nafisa would be saying that. But if it's true of what she said, that Caitlin should be thanking her, go ahead and just go pack for Cabo, because you should not be sitting in that seat.
People who had never cared about the Fever suddenly knew her name. That kind of instant star-making doesn't happen every season. And yet, in the same breath, the team's messaging seems to downplay that gravity in favor of structure, caution, and the collective. It's not just coaching philosophy, it's a question of alignment. The new fans who came for Caitlin are watching a familiar pattern unfold. They see rotations where she's not the focal point, possessions where she's slowed down, and late-game plays that avoid the chaos that made her a star. To them, it's not strategy, it's fear. Fear of letting her play. Fear of giving her full control. And when that fear is paired with statements that emphasize Kelsey Mitchell or other players as priorities, the disconnect becomes glaring.
Fans also notice the contrast in recognition. Other players get celebrated with no caveats. Caitlin's accomplishments get reframed, filtered, or contextualized in a way that softens the spotlight. It may not be intentional. It may just be the result of traditional coaching instincts, old-school ideas about balancing personalities, protecting veterans, maintaining team cohesion. But for fans, perception is reality, and the perception is clear. The engine that drives the team, the player who draws national attention, is being managed instead of amplified. And this feeds into a larger story about the WNBA as a league. Historically, the league hasn't been built around single-player superstars. Teams relied on balanced rosters, even talent distribution, and marketing that spread attention across the entire roster. Caitlin Clark disrupts that. She's a gravitational force that demands attention, and when the league, or a team, fails to fully embrace that, it feels like a missed opportunity. The question isn't just about one interview. It's about whether the Fever and the league recognize the value of a generational talent and are willing to build a product around that reality. Because when the system doesn't bend to the talent, you get frustration, and that frustration is amplified when fans feel like they're being silenced or scolded for pointing out the obvious. Caitlin is the focal point. She is the star, and anything less than building toward that star is a failure to capitalize on what the league has been handed. Look closer at the dynamics with Stephanie White. On paper, she's experienced, respected, and has a track record of managing multiple personalities. But experience can sometimes clash with the uniqueness of a player like Caitlin Clark. Most coaches are used to moderating talent, creating systems that prioritize balance. Caitlin doesn't fit that mold. She requires freedom, audacity, and a willingness to let the game evolve around her energy. That's why fans interpret her coach's every word so intensely. They aren't reacting to the literal interview. They're reacting to the pattern of restraint and caution they've been seeing for months.